And welcome everybody that's watching online to our performance monitoring meeting. Tua ki ranga, tua ki raro, tua ki waho, tua ki roto, tua ki hiri tangata, kai ronga ti po, kai ronga ti ao, homie, huie, tai ki e. So in English, unite from above, unite from below, unite from outside, unite from within. Everyone unite as one. Listen to the night, listen to the world, draw together, affirm. Bruce is just going to, Mr. Allen's just going to introduce a new staff member.
Yep, kia ora, good morning. So just very briefly, and we'll do a more fuller introduction at a later moment, but just think of Mr. Graham Watson, our new Chief Financial Officer, just joined us last week, so very pleased to have Graham on deck.
Yep, welcome Graham. We have some apologies from Councillor Kerr, Councillor Monteputo Hendry and Councillor Watkins. Is there any leave of absences? Anybody like to apply for leave of absences?
Yes, please, Chairman. Can I have 8th of August for leave of absence, please?
8th of August. Thank you, Councillor Jessup. Sorry, 8th of August. Yep, as well. Thank you. Right. Anybody like to move that Mayor Sandra is seconded by Councillor Barrow? Right. Conflicts of interest. We all know the story. Just declare any that come along. Minutes of the previous performance monitoring meeting have been circulated. Just to confirm those, could I please have a mover for that? Councillor Dixon, and seconded by Councillor Barrow. All those in favour say aye. Yep. I think we better also do a show of for the absences, for the leave of absences as well. So all in favour of those? Aye. Yep. Thank you. Sorry, I missed those. Right. First item on the agenda is the Hastings City Business Association, and I'd like to welcome Lucinda, if you'd like to come to the front, please.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here this morning. So I'd just like to highlight a few... Oh, okay. Is that better? Right, sorry. Take two. Thanks for having me here this morning. I'd just like to highlight a few key initiatives from our annual report, so our 2023-2024 financial year, which was a great success overall in terms of delivering on all the initiatives we set out to do. We obviously had some curveballs with Cyclone Gabrielle and general economic challenges that our businesses continue to face. But despite all this, we delivered on a wonderful plan and we were able to bring vibrancy, community and some excellent networking to our area, to our CBD. So I'll take my reports as read, but I'll just run through a few of the key initiatives. Throughout the course of the year, we maintained our digital Discover marketing activity, which runs in the back end as a digital promotion. So that's our way of having scaled back a number of our big key events that weren't fully benefiting members. Our online activity ensures Hastings CBD is top of mind for people within the region and also around the North Island. So we continued that activity throughout the year with great results. Now, with all our initiatives, we have separate reports that I can certainly share on each of those. We did some excellent summer promotions through the course of the year. including a trip to Bali giveaway, which went down really well. Our businesses got really behind it this time, and they don't always, so we make a real effort to engage our members to ensure that we're on the same page, we're delivering on what they want us to deliver on, and in the past year it was that, to bring some joy, get some people shopping and spending and experiencing Hastings CBD, and then giving away some great prizes. We continued our partnership with Council on the focus on business breakfasts. So we buy 2 tables, which allows our members to turn up free. So on a first in, first served basis, we can have 20 of our members come along. We delivered some great CBD activations, being bumper boats and bumper cars. And one thing I will note, which seems really simple, but Hastings Happy Hour, who would have thought, was a real success for our members. So this just allows our members to come along, have a drink or 2 on us and a nibble, and just network. No pressure, no expectation, no formalities, nothing. Just a chance to share challenges, successes, and stories with one another. So that was a real success. And to conclude our year, I just want to thank our members, because without them, there would be no association. In times of devastation, when things have got really tough, they show up and they continue to show up. And yes, we lost a few members through the course of the year, but we're continuing to see new businesses, and thriving ones at that. So we look to the year ahead with much excitement, obviously despite economic challenges, but with the foundation of solid relationships within our membership. And I'll just address our annual plan. So our aims continue to be promoting and supporting the success of CBD businesses, enhancing the overall experience of residents and visitors. We want to showcase everything this CBD has to offer. So that's on us, through digital, through events, through networking, through bringing our members together, through advocating for them, be it with other government bodies, be it with council, be it with chamber, whatever support they need from us, we're here for them. And we want to collaborate with them all and local organisations to drive economic growth and sustainable development in our CBD. So I won't run through every single initiative on our plan, but a few of the top key line ones. Our business awards, which are next month, and we are very excited about, and the businesses are very excited about. So they've all got really behind it, which is exciting. The judges have felt a real energy and passion through their process of interviewing all the members, which is really pleasing. So we're holding that on the 29th of August in the Assembly Ballroom in Tuitui. So that's all very exciting. We're partnering with Council again on some Blossom activity. We're going to run our expression project again in the CBD, which allows people to submit 20 words or less about what's important to them about Hastings, and then we put it all up in bright lights on empty buildings around town. So it has, all round an excellent effect, because people feel involved from a community standpoint, the businesses love it and get behind it, and then we cover up some less than desirable looking buildings. We'll continue our happy hour series. We'd like to do some interactive decals, Christmas promotions. Our digital activity will continue. We'll just refine based on the results and the evidence we're seeing from that campaign. We'd like to introduce a quiz night series. So just things we find that bring people together without overdoing it in terms of drinks or getting silly, but just allowing our members to relax, take a load off, come together and do some fun things. We'd like to do a food tour experience of Hastings, because I don't know about you guys, but there is so much on offer in our CBD. We literally have every food group covered. So let's showcase that to the wider community and do a food tour experience. And we'll continue our partnership with the business breakfasts. So aside from our key initiatives, we also continue with our business attraction objective around working with key developers on spaces that are available in the CBD, and we have recently introduced a couple to a prominent developer, so that's looking hopeful in terms of a hospitality space in the CBD. We'll continue our Bay Plaza promotion, and as I mentioned, our Discover marketing campaign. So that really wraps up what our plans are for the year. I'm certainly available for any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lucinda. Any questions or comments? Councillor Jessup.
Kia ora, thank you for your plan and report. I was just wondering if there's any uptake to salute Te Reo Māori, the Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori, which is on the 14th of September. I'd really like to work with you to put that in that calendar if we could.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Let's have a conversation offline.
Kia ora.
Thank you, Kelly. Ms. Sandra.
Kia ora, thank you, through you, Chair. Thank you, Lucinda, for your report, and great to hear what's happening in our beautiful city. Just a question around the decals. Is that what we talked about in the annual plan process about the empty shops and working with the landlords to,
Yes.
the empty spaces that we have? Is that the
Yeah,
decals
exactly.
that you're talking about?
So activate the different empty buildings with decals that are just a bit more interesting and engaging, and people can come and take photos and do various things. So predominantly that Westpac frontage would be a key site for us, but then depending on what's available, empty buildings would look to pop decals on that are interactive.
Because I think there is, we have an empty vacancy in our building at the moment, and I think, if there was an opportunity for the landlords to contribute to creating something other than a real estate sign,
Yes.
would be actually really far more attractive to say, look at this space, is it for you, come to Hastings, that sort of thing. And I think we could do that kind of throughout the city as an opportunity, and rather than just the agents taking over with all of their signage that we're seeing in a lot of the buildings at the moment.
Absolutely. Well, you can do some really cool stuff around, what could be here, pop your phone up, various things pop up, that kind of
Cool.
interaction.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Lucinda, and looks like you're making your money go a long way with all the activities that you're doing, and it's good to see that you're looking after business owners' well-being as well as their economic fortunes as well. And also like to acknowledge Councillors Harvey and Sholem who work with you as advisors. So thank you, Lucinda, and all the best.
Thanks very much.
Emma. No, it doesn't say we have to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's just.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me back once again. I am here today to talk to you about our annual marketing plan. Our plan revolves around our three key objectives, which are to have a strong and supported business association, to promote Have a Look North to locals and visitors, and to have a vibrant, modern and evolving village. Our plan this year is a mix of reoccurring and reimagined activity to create a fresh plan based on feedback from our members and past successes. Something we've kept the same is our popular Eat the Village campaign, which will feature 30 days of hospitality offers and special dishes. Also, playing on our Love Have a Look North brand, we are carrying out a Valentine's Day hospitality activation since it's falling on a Friday in 2025. We will have Cupid's visiting hospitality, giving out roses and offering to take Polaroids of couples out dining out. For Support Local, we're investing in our social media presence by producing a series of reels collectively highlighting local businesses. This initiative aims to create engaging content that aligns with seasonal and festive occasions, showing multiple businesses per reel. We will also run targeted social media advertising prior to long weekends and school holidays to attract more visitors to our village over these periods. For our domestic tourism activity, we are going to carry out a 2-week radio campaign in Wellington, where we'll offer 3 weekend and Have a Look North prizes, tailored to 3 different local radio audiences. This campaign will promote Have a Look North as an ideal getaway destination this summer. In our last plan, we put together a digital professional services guide. It was created to encourage more business-to-business connection and also as a tool to promote Havelock North service businesses to those living locally. This guide is shared through local business networks promoted via digital and print advertising. There will also be some sort of local radio competition created to promote the guide and showcase Havelock North as a great place to do business. We will carry out a series of small to medium events that encourage business collaboration. Our aim is to bring people to the village multiple times through the year. Topics will vary, and while we have ideas for these, we first plan to put them out to our members to see if they have their own that they would like to work together on. Talking of events, we're also very thankful for the event funding we've secured for our wine and art event. I only had that confirmed last week, so I haven't got a plan to discuss today, but very excited to work with Vicky and some of our businesses to create a really great event for Havelock North, so thank you so much for that. I know it's a tough economy out there. We also have, our members have been asking for lots more on-street vibrancy, so in this plan we've budgeted for winter, spring and Christmas window art installations. We're working with local artist Dali to create some really bright original designs that we can spread through the village, and businesses can opt into being involved. We are bringing back our Gift Local campaign. This is an annual guide we produce that features retailers' top Christmas gifting ideas. This year we will also have a reel created showcasing the guide to enhance this activity. Through the Christmas period, we offer support to our members by providing event planning and marketing assistance for their activity. This is to help them enhance their offerings and connect with a wider audience. We also encourage our retailers to decorate their shop windows, and will bring back our popular Santa mailbox. Lastly, we have planned quarterly member networking events and continue to offer subsidised tickets to local business development events. Our networking events aim to connect our members and foster strong community spirit. 3 years down the track since reimagining our event style, and we're still seeing really great numbers in attendance, anywhere from about 70 to our main events, normally about 100, 120. The board has also asked me to extend the invite to our councillors to future networking events for our businesses. I will put an email out, but we would really love to facilitate more business councillor sort of connection going forward, just so we can really help them sort of understand how our association sort of ties in with what council's doing and how we're all working together to enhance our CBD. In conclusion, the Havelock North Business Association is committed to supporting local businesses, promoting Havelock North as a premier destination, and ensuring our village remains vibrant and evolving. We believe our annual marketing plan will significantly contribute to these goals and benefiting our community. Thank you for your attention and support. Can I answer any questions about our new plan?
Thank you, Emma. Any councillor Jessup?
Kia ora, I know I've been extending the invitation between us to meet and prosper or progress more Māori input into the CBD. So I'd like to take up that offer, and I'm sure my Takitimi ward officers would like, councillors would like to meet too.
Yes, absolutely.
Make that happen.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Yep. Councillor Jessup. Right. Any more questions? Councillor Sholin?
A comment, if I may, Chair. Just very, very happy to endorse and support the report and acknowledge the work that both business associations have done, and really happy to move both reports if you...
Move, yes, so Wendy, Councillor Sholin will move, receiving both reports. And yes, Sandra, you'll second? Yes. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, can I just also acknowledge the work that the team, Emma and the team are doing. It was great to be with you opening the new supermarket, and can I just say that I really applaud your campaign into Wellington. I think that's really smart.
Yeah, no, I think it would be great.
And just been in town shopping there on Saturday morning, listening to women from many parts of the North Island who were shopping in Havelock North on Saturday in the rain. You know, clearly that we are a destination for people to come to, and they were going to the wineries. I was listening to them where they were going, you know, overhearing in the next cubicle, and it's great just to see, you know, our local people coming back and filling all our hospitality and accommodation. So I think that's a really smart campaign. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been very interesting this past year the change in how our retailers perceive their core customer. If you'd asked them 2020 through 2022, obviously there were limited travellers, but they would have told you it was a local person shopping in their store and supporting their business. The increase we saw in domestic tourism and now even international tourism coming back to New Zealand, a lot of them are actually realising that tourists provide a really huge amount of their annual profits. Well, the locals, you know, they come and they regularly support them. It's the visitors coming from the city who seem to spend big. So it's been a really interesting sort of mindset change for them about how they're targeting their customers as well.
Councillor Te Oscarworth.
I just want to thank you for your report, being a new councillor. It's good to get some insight into what the Business Association, that goes for the Hastings as well. And I just sort of leading on from Councillor Jessop's comment was, I used to reside in Maraetai Cres, but I don't know how it got its name. So maybe a starting point. I don't want to put any extra work on you, Councillor Fowler, but it might be good to know the historical reasons of those Māori street names out there.
Sure.
Yeah, no, look, we'd absolutely love to learn more. I am someone who would need some support and education to sort of carry out these sorts of things, but if anyone would like to engage with us, I know that the board is really open to sort of progressing that sort of stuff.
Happy to help for free.
Thank you, so kind.
I said that in a public forum, so don't change my mind. So it's recorded in the minutes, but thank you. Yes, happy to do that. And also thank you for, once again, for Councillor Solomon Harvey that assist with as advisors. And yeah, we look forward to the Wine and Arts Festival, and it's good to see the village buzzing, and ditto Mayor Hazelhurst's comments. So we have a mover to receive the reports, Councillor Solomon, and a seconder, Mayor Hazelhurst. So all those in favour of aye, so aye, and against, carried. Thank you. Thank you, Emma. Right, next we have Mr. Monanui for the building report. Sorry, you're going to chair. Yep. Mr. Bicker will chair this section.
Through you, Chair, and good morning, councillors. The next item is around the implementation plan for giving effect to the recommendations that came to the last Performance and Monitoring Committee. As you know, the performance of our building function goes to the heart of our priorities, wanting to enable good quality development. The shift that we've talked about that needs to happen is from a technically sound function to one that also has outstanding customer service, excellent communication with our customers, increasing the timeliness of our processing of building consents, and lifting the overall fiscal performance of the function. Obviously, going to take the report and the implementation plan as read. We've taken you through the briefing on the implementation plan. I think, as you know, and some of this is volume related, we've come off the peak of building activities. The current level of performance is quite good at the moment. Building consents are going out on average less than within 10 days. We have same day inspections available. Compliment the team. They've taken the opportunity to already implement some of the low-hanging fruit that was identified in the review, the more proactive ringing of customers, early engagement to avoid sending out requests for information. But in essence, we have an implementation plan that will span the next 24 months, and that sets out the key actions that we're looking to take in terms of being more business focused, lifting overall customer engagement and satisfaction, reducing the time that it takes to process building consents, take a more risk-based approach, and to enhance the financial performance of the building consent function. So with those comments, happy through myself and Tony to take questions, and probably just to stress the other thing that clearly this is an organisational priority to give effect to these changes. the implementation plan has been done with the support of the finance, communication, marketing functions, and this will be a very strong focus for the leadership team, and we will be reporting on an ongoing basis against the implementation plan to this committee. But happy to take.
Already started. Sorry, the results I sent out in terms of the report the other day showed really good processing times and inspection times. But no, we certainly embraced it and want to move forward on it, and you know, performance and customer service being the two key things, and then finance and another item. But more than happy to take any questions.
Councillor Corbyn.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the report. When I hear risk, I'm thinking how much risk and who is measuring that risk, and whether it's appropriate that where we land with this is run through the Risk and Assurance Committee, just to give Council some confidence that we have got the balance right.
So the starting point for this, through you, Chair, is, and I think, you know, which was contained within Mr. Palmer's review, is saying the starting point for the risk-based approach is the corporate risk framework that has already been adopted by the council through the Risk and Assurance Committee. So we're not looking to do anything that's outside of the risk appetites that have been set by the council, but we'll bring back through, as we're working through at a detailed level. Okay, well, what does that look like in terms of the applied processes, applying that risk framework? But we are making those choices within the risk appetite statements that have already been adopted formally by the council table.
Chair. Councillor Dixon.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. All this looks really good. I was reading through it. I couldn't find a complaints procedure for anyone that has any real concerns. Is that anywhere?
We do have a complaints procedure, and in fact, there is a policy, and we're looking at it right now in terms of the way we receive complaints and the way we deal with them. A couple of these items, it's more so refreshing the memory of the staff as to how the process works. And that's certainly, we've got some team meetings coming up next week where we're going to go over the policy, just to remind staff this is how it works. And because they do, there's a ton of policies and procedures, they do tend to forget, but it's just a reminder how it should be done.
Thank you. That's an important part of any plan, is having that. More than happy to move, Chair.
Yep. Thank you. Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, thank you. Just interested in at what stage or how do we start the conversation around a shared service for the region? And, you know, is this seen as a first step, and then we start looking into that further down the track, and is there a time frame around that, please?
Through you, Chair, yeah, great question, Councillor Harvey. I think those councillors that have been around for a while will know this wouldn't be the first time around in terms of thinking about a shared service. I think there's a level of collaboration going on, and much like I think the plan covers that, you know, we're going to do some things we haven't done before, like joint building forums with Napier. I think, to answer your question, is probably something that you know, we're working through with the mayors and CEs around what are the areas that most lend themselves to, in our shared context around, you know, the rising costs that communities are facing. What are the functions that are common that could be done better to deliver enhanced service at lower costs? And yeah, not a secret that those probably areas that are on the table that have been identified are a more regional approach to planning, a regional building consent authority, but probably the biggest opportunity in the first instance is probably a regional approach to infrastructure, given the collective spend of the LTPs that have just been adopted by the councils is over $4 billion of capital spend in the next 10 years. But that's going to be some of the work that I think, you know, the mayors ultimately will look to task the chief executives of the council to say, well, what are those areas that we can take forward? But I think there's no doubt that you know, a regional approach to planning and building consent authority makes a lot of sense to explore. It's just where does it sit in the priority relative to everything else that's going on. But my view, and consistent with some of the conversations here, probably in the top 3 opportunities for the region if they're looking to embrace smarter, more cost-effective ways of delivering services that are common across all of our councils and communities.
So thank you for that. And there was a lot that you said within that. So therefore, with some of those things that are proposed in the conversations, how can we, or is there a formal framework or process, including if the mayors of the region are having conversations around that, is the ability to turn some of this into some actions?
Well, again, through you, Chair, and Mayor Hazelhurst might want to comment. I mean, I think the opportunity is we have a regional collaboration day in September that brings all of the mayors and councillors across the region together. Clearly, as a region, whilst we haven't made any decisions, we've made a commitment to explore a regional model around local waters done well. We've all signed off the terms of reference. We're doing that work. You could argue that that's the first step to exploring more broadly when you look at the numbers and the capital spend, particularly in transport around. So some of this is about being clear on where's the priorities, how might you sequence this over timeframes, because you can't do it all at once. But I think the obvious opportunity is through the regional collaboration day to start having this conversation and starting to get some direction about the way forward.
Thank you. And then just last question. The idea, and this is a little bit of a contrast to the fact of what we're talking around greater collaboration and stuff, but with the building forums, are we confident that if there's one hosted in Napier that we're really going to get our building community across to those? What sort of way or what approach have we got to make sure that happens?
I'll defer to Mr. O'Shaughnessy, but as I understand it, this is an initiative that's been identified by the Building Advisory Forum, panel that we have about the value of actually starting to do this, more broadly than just Hastings.
And I think also, those of you who've attended, and Councillor Harvey is often the question gets raised, hey, how come there's no consistency between the two councils? So that's the start of that. We've got a group of management and staff over there open to it, and we're also going to go along their evening. We're using our big database, which is basically everyone will know it's on, and we're going to encourage people to attend. And they've got a slightly different way of running their forums, and so we're going to have a look and see if it works and share ideas, and then we believe over time we can have a dual process where we each host them and we get consistency. And it's a good first step, and having worked in both councils in both fields, I don't think it's rocket science. Thank you.
Mayor Hazelhurst.
Through you, Chair, just following up on Councillor Harvey's question and the Chief Executive's response. I think that the opportunity that has arisen through Local Waters Done Well and how we set up a strategy and framework for regional collaboration is the next step. So there's been a willingness by this council since 2016 to look at shared services, particularly in the regulatory areas. That's dog control. As you know, our dog officers travel way up through Napier District to attend to dog control, which is, we have to do better. And so there is an opportunity to get a strategy and framework set up for more regional collaboration, and the opportunity with the infrastructure delivery program from Cyclone Gabrielle is going to enable us to look at this in an entirely different light. And so as consultants have been engaged to look at Local Waters Done Well, I see this as a natural progression for all regional elected members to identify some of these important areas. Now, we invested $50,000 as council in 2016 to look at a building control for the region, and that's gone nowhere. So, you know, anyone like to have a look at that report? It is sitting in one of John's drawers, but that went nowhere. So we have to get our collaboration across our region with our other elected members and identify what is really important for our region to take the leadership to move forward. And that's everyone understanding the value of doing this more collaboratively and collectively. And that's across all of our work, actually, as across the region, as we look at recovery and we look at services, levels of service, and how we can be more efficient. And there's a lot of area for improvement. Kia ora.
Kia ora. And if I can, through you, Chair, and just build on Mayor Hazelhurst's comments, I think the trick in all of this is we can't advance everything all at the same time, and so being very deliberate. And I know that the early part of framing up how you might get into this with the mayors and chief executives have been saying probably the top three criteria should be: does it deliver better services for our community? Does it enhance recovery? And does it is it more cost effective? And if the answer to those three questions are yes, should be prioritising the areas that we start in, whilst trying to encourage a broad sense of collaboration across the respective councils, because many of what we do are common functions and processes. So try to create that sense of collaboration, but on the big things being very deliberate about we can't have a year of 1,000 blooming flowers all at the same time, and being really deliberate about the things that are going to give the biggest return to our communities.
Thank you, Mr. Bickle. Happy to see you. Yep, Councillor Harvey will second. So we have a mover, Councillor Dixon, and a seconder, Councillor Harvey, for the recommendations on page 12, A and B. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Tony, and thank you, John. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now pass it over to Mr. Allen for the main performance and monitoring report. Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Chair. You would have all obviously received and digested the quarterly performance and monitoring report. I think you'd be also very aware that on a reporting cycle, we bring this report to you on a quarterly basis. We also bring to you on a quarterly basis the key financials for the organisation. That comes, at this time of the year, comes on a slightly different cycle. So we have the financials for the year end will be presented to you in September as they normally are. So the financial report here, I mean the report that's in front of you, really is commentary around council's activities and doesn't really have any real financial data to it. That will come once the finance team have had a good opportunity to bring all the financials together, noting that we probably only closed off on the accounts payable section a couple of days ago. So that's the process, if you're wondering why that was lacking. Just stepping through, Mr. Chair, just on I guess some of the highlighted areas, and that we sort of bring those to your attention early in the report. Just things around like the Tim Moana Showground. So that's the establishment of the trust is progressing. The trust deed has been drafted. It's been sitting with the AMP Society to receive some of their feedback. So that will progress. We are working through I guess some areas around staffing and resourcing within that. Just noting that we're in that sort of intermediary phase between council taking ownership of the showgrounds, establishing the trust, and moving things forward. There's some bit more detailed commentary in the report about Splash Planet and the season that's just been. And just noting also within the community development area, the team led by Ms. Dinwoody have done a fantastic job of getting funding from a number of different agencies around the country, in particular Red Cross. I do mention the DIA, that should be MPI, that has enabled some really good work to happen and help our communities build resilience, particularly following Cyclone Gabriel. King Street upgrade in the Hastings City Centre, that commenced in the quarter that we're reporting on. And also there's some commentary in there from a stormwater section around the progression on those 2C category properties, particularly in Havelock North. Just thought I'd highlight, and without any real detail, but there is a graph or some detail in there around council's cybersecurity posture and improvements that the team are making on that. It's a constant piece of work, and we do report that to risk and assurance on a regular basis as well. There has been lots of community engagement over the last quarter as well, and we highlight a few things in there, particularly around the long-term plan, Waimanama Beach, joint waste management and minimisation plan, and a lot of other activities as well. So a lot of engagement with the community over the last quarter. And then lastly, just highlighting, and this will come in more detail to the Strategy and Recovery Committee next week, but it was a very detailed report on our recovery activities, but in this report there is some high level commentary as well. So really just open it up to questions, and there are a number of staff in the room to help answer your questions should you have any. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Mr. Allen. Right, open up for questions. Councillor Solomon.
Thank you, Chair. I have quite a few, but it might take me a moment to find each one if that's all right. So I'm happy to, in between questions, make room for other councillors if that's all right with you. So just starting off, looking at page 8 of the attachment around the showgrounds, I was just wondering if you, Mr. Allen, could let me know what specific steps are going to be taken to address the resource issue that's been highlighted in terms of the resignation in that area, and how that'll impact the timeline for implementing the trust or establishing the trust.
So as I mentioned before, we are sort of in a phase of transition from council purchasing the property, working out our staffing requirements, and then transitioning into trust arrangements. But we do need to have some more of a manager oversight at the moment. More so than we do at the moment. At the moment, it's being dealt with by a number of staff, but no one with real key ownership other than sort of what the work that Mr. Ferguson's doing and trying to pull the whole thing together. So we're in the process of working our way through that, and hopefully we'll make some good steps in the next few weeks. I don't believe that's impacting on the establishment of the trust. So at the moment, the trust being drafted. Mark Pondettelson's helped us with that. We've provided input. It's now with the AMP Society to provide their feedback. And then once we've had that, we can consider it. The staffing requirements at the moment aren't impacting on the establishment of the trust going forward.
Great, thank you. Another one that's quickly at hand, if that's all right, Chair. Just looking at the local area plans, which I think is on page 11, how does the potential confusion that's been highlighted in the commentary in there around the local area plans and the FDS, the Future Development Strategy, how is that likely to impact public engagement, and what are the measures we're putting in place to just try and ensure that confusion doesn't overwhelm the engagement process?
Two parts to that. Craig will comment on that.
First of all, from a statutory level, your future strategic development is a statutory process under your National Policy Statement on Urban Development. You have to follow the special consultative procedure as specified under the Local Government Act. Basic premise of that is you have to have a comprehensive statement of proposal, which is your draft strategy. There's submission processes, etc., to go through on it. So it's a very defined public process, and your FDS is a regional document. It becomes a strategy informing document for your district plans, and it's a comprehensive process, and you tend to engage within that with your key stakeholders, which is your development communities and the communities of interest around those developments. Your local area planning process is I guess a lower level, but not less than importance, but a tactical methodology that council is employing to enhance its district plan and enhance its infrastructure planning to make sure you're servicing for your medium density outcome. So it's a more informal process and again, more targeted at those developers and the communities of interest around the development. So if anything, I think the public awareness that council is looking at its long-term development methodologies and objectives, and its more tactical outcomes around your medium density aspirations, I think they more complement each other than cause any confusion at all.
Through you, Chair, Naomi, did you have anything to add to that? I'm just interested from that perspective of if I look at this with my commissioner hat on, we often hear from people who come to the hearings who are confused by process. And so while it's really obvious these are two very separate things, I'm just making sure the community understands that.
Through you, Chair, that's been highlighted as a risk in terms of the FDS, the local area plans, and also those conversations around intensification, because there are communities of interest that may be engaged throughout this. One of our benefits is the timing, so FDS will go ahead of the local area plans. And then it is around taking what Mr. Cameron has explained and putting that in layman's terms in terms of understanding the pieces of the puzzle, and so that will form part of the comms as we step through. So rather than trying to complicate people's awareness at the FDS stage, we'll let that go through and explain itself, but when we go through to the subsequent planning places, we want to make sure that people understand how that piece of the puzzle fits in terms of the engagement processes that have been running.
Thank you.
Councillor Dixon?
Yeah, thank you. The first questions I've got around Brookvale, page 14, and it's the development contributions. We've got 74 lots that they got in early for 23-24 plan, and our new rate is $20,000 more. 74 lots at $20,000 more is $1.4 million of development contributions. So what's the process from here? Does the ratepayer have to pick that up, or do they have to meet the new rate?
So through your chair, so that effectively as you understand, the development contribution policy takes a view that it's a district-wide development contribution model. So whether it's Brookvale, Iona, Howard Street, or anywhere else, medium density, all comes from the same pot. So if we're under on one, we need to get the funding from another area as we work our way through it. So we won't necessarily have a shortfall with Brookvale per se that the ratepayers would then, or someone else would then have to fund. It just goes into that big pot and averages out across all the development areas over a 10-year period. So if we're short on recovering for Brookvale, which it looks like it would be because of the way that the policy is structured, but also the way that the legislation informs the policy that allows for developers to come in early and take advantage of lower rates, it will mean that we will be looking at future development contributions that are a higher rate because of it.
Okay, so others will suffer because of their smarts. That's probably the way it works. Okay, thank you. And the second one is around Splash Planner, and it's a comment there on page 24. The total approved budget, including renewals, was just over $2 million, and the management reassigned other aquatic capital budget to meet the budget overspend. What other aquatic facilities were affected by that reassignment? How were they affected? And when will their capital expenditure be carried out?
I'll just pass that over to either Rebecca or Tom.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so the question was around what other budgets were reassigned to cover some of the capital work. So there was some, within the aquatics budget, there was some unspent and there was no intention to spend that budget, so that got reassigned to cover some of the costs. And then within the Windsor Park Reserve Management budget, there was some reallocated budget because it was kind of coherent with the work that was going on with the park to uplift the service level of that area at the front of the park that was redeveloped.
So there were no other aquatic facilities within our Hastings district that are affected by that transfer of funding?
No.
That's not how it reads in the paper. They say it was reassigned from.
Yeah, through you, Chair, I think, yeah, the reassignment happened after staff evaluated the need for the budget that was in place. So I think the budget was put in. And I think if we bring it back to the budgeting process that council undertook for the last financial year, post Cyclone Gabriel, council made a conscious decision to not consult on the budget, but also not put in extra work to understand the full impacts of the cyclone and other changes that may have happened over that period of time. So, yeah, the budgeting process had got to a point and by late January, early February, prior to the cyclone, but it was far from complete. And because of the cyclone and the impacts of that on staffing levels, but also on the level of uncertainty that we had in front of us around the true impacts of the cyclone, no further work was done on the budgeting process, and council made that decision to pick up the budget as it was at that point in time and carry forward with it. What that's created is some anomalies. It's created areas where we under budgeted the need from an operational perspective, but it also meant there was some capital budgets within other areas of particularly within the aquatics that we could look at to reallocate and reprioritise for this purpose.
Thank you for your answer.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, and I'd just like to say too, I've looked at this with Bruce and the officers concerned, and I'm satisfied that the process was followed. So, yep. Also, Councillor Barrow. Oh, yeah. Sorry, you must have slipped off.
Dropped off.
You did. You can have Mayor's squatting right, so you can be.
Through you, Chair, can I just recommend, we've got a very, very large attachment one with every level of service and work program that we are monitoring today. Can I ask you as the Chair, please, to take us through section by section, that is planning and regulatory strategy and policy, so because we've all got a lot of questions, so rather than going through all of this with one person, could you please take us through? So questions on the first part. I'll just start on my first part, which is the Tomoana Showgrounds, and I'm really interested, and I always love to find a little pot of funding through government, and I had no idea about this regional event promotion fund. Now, I'm very excited to hear about that, and I want to know how we, and when I think about, you know, arts organisations and a whole lot of other areas, how are we accessing this new $5 million regional event promotion, not just to look at the showgrounds opportunities, but to look at our wider events opportunities, please? So I'll just start at the first section, but I have got questions throughout the whole. So rather than one person asking, could you take us section through section?
Sure. Mr. Allen will orchestrate it.
Through you, Chair. Our process has been working in supporting promoters to come to the region. So we're aware of the fund and have also been talking with Hawke's Bay Tourism in terms of supporting applications to help us attract major events to the venue, which supports both the viability and sustainability in terms of funding and use of the venue, while also bringing community outcomes and economic uplift.
So through you, Chair, my question is the wider events for Heretaunga Hastings, and what other events that we currently operate that council funds, whether it's Horse of the Year or the Blossom Parade or whatever, that we could be applying. What is the criteria around the DMB fund that we could access for many more events? or is it just new events, or how does it work?
Through you, Chair, I'm not across the detail of the fund, but our events on operations manager and marketing and brand lead have been working with events that we support to make applications for funding. I don't have the criteria, but I can come back to you with an update on how we've supported regional events to access the fund and against the criteria put forward.
Chair and CE, to understand how we can look as an organisation to apply to more of this for funding.
Sure. Noted, please. Yep. Mr. Bickle.
Through you, Chair, and we'll take that as an action. Your Worship, and we'll do a proper briefing on this. The key thing, it's available for events in a certain window of time. It's certainly not available for funding community type events. It is very much around major events and assistance with marketing and other costs for new events that are happening within a particular window of time over the Christmas and New Year period. But we'll get the full, and there are a number of exclusions around what the fund isn't available for. So, but we'll take that as an action in terms of a detailed briefing on the criteria and the things that we are doing and who we're working with around maximising the new fund that's available.
Councillor Teo Skipworth.
Oh, just, I had a list, but we're going in sections, but I've got a little bit of insight into that fund, and I think the window is closed, and it is for all events. It's not just for new events, but it's marketing to bring visitors into the region. So that's what the fund is actually for.
So through you, Chair, so just following Councillor Mayor Sandra's lead on strategy and development areas. So anything with the blue headings, yellow headings. Is there any questions on those before we move forward?
Councillor Sholem, do you have a...
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I do. Just looking at the Flaxmere developments, I see that the report mentions there's a risk of potentially not achieving forecasted figures for land sales. And I'm just interested to know what contingency plans are in place if the full market value can't be obtained for the land sales at 244. Flaxmere.
Yeah, it's not a black and white process that you get a valuation and that's what you intend to sell the property for. We get valuations just to keep us informed of what the current time sort of snapshot benchmark is with the current time valuation of the market. But again, as the Chief Executive had delegations for the Flaxmere sections, we're going through a pretty comprehensive process with the potential market development interests, of which there's quite considerable growing interest. So valuation is one tool in the mix to reach a negotiated outcome, but you've got your other influences that affect, I guess, your sale conditions and price to be achieved. And a number of those levers are what I would call in council's negotiation favour at present. And then the overall check on it is that your sale processes are subject to council approval of the particular transaction. So I really just see the valuation as a informative tool in the council's much wider sort of negotiation and engagement process with the market.
And I think through you, Chair, just add to that at the moment, just to be clear, it's no guarantees here. I mean, all those controls are in place. The approvals that council have made to date in terms of sales of land holdings at Whakauru Crescent, whilst I won't disclose the parties that we're working with, we are at the tail end of that process and about to bring that back to council. And all the indications is that those parties will be paying the basically the market valuation for for that land. And as Mr. Cameron's pointed out, we're about to bring back to council the remaining 7 parcels of land that have been developed in Flaxmere, and have council confirm the outcomes that they're wanting to achieve for the community. And as you know, at the moment, there is strong developer interest in that land. So, in summary, the decisions that you have made on the subdivision that we have been to market for, the indications are we will get market value for that. That will be coming back to council shortly, and we will be subject to, again, your decisions and direction, looking to test the market where at the moment there would appear to be strong sort of interest. So whilst there's risks, they're not risks that we're seeing play out just at the present time.
Thank you. I do have more questions, but I'm very happy to lend out the council.
Yep, sure. Councillor Tio Skipworth?
It's not particularly about the report of Flaxmere Hastings, but we had the street opening in the weekend. It was beautiful, and there were comments from members of the public on would they be allowed to attend those street openings in future, but given that we're looking at more lots, so just a question on that.
Yep, so we could take that as a action to do that.
Yeah, we can take it as action. It would be, through you, Chair, be useful to get some direction. I mean, obviously, we've focused very much because of the importance that's been placed on the community of naming all of the streets after, our Flaxmere heroes, that the primary focus has been on the whānau, and often large numbers associated with the whānau who we're honouring, and obviously Flaxmere leaders. It would be useful to get some, direction. Doesn't need to be at the table today, but just how you balance potentially a whole lot of the public when a lot of the actual event is about the whānaus.
Yeah, so you're happy to have an offline discussion about that? Just to...
Yeah, I think it just helps continue the cohesion within the community. Yeah, but I can have that conversation.
Thank you. Councillor Jessup?
Can we go to page 27, please? It's about the senior housing.
Oh yeah, can we just park that till we get to the section?
Okay.
Is that all right? Thank you. Councillor Sholem?
Thank you, Chair. Just now looking at the Howard Street update, which I think is on page 16. I note that it mentions there's a risk related to the completion of the services lagging behind home construction, and I'm just interested to know what are the temporary solutions that have been considered to address that potential lag in the services for that particular development, and how are we going to ensure timely completion of homes?
Through you, Chair, I'll get Mr. Thu to comment on the technical engineering side of it, other than to say, we are working with the developers that are currently building houses and when they're expecting to have code compliance certificates. Mr. Thu can explain the temporary solutions, but the ones that we're in lockstep with the developers around how we manage the interim between the permanent solution that's being built and what needs to be in place in order for the developers who are building homes there currently to have codes compliance certificates. But Mr. Thu, you can cover off that.
Morning all, through you, Chair. As the Chief Executive has sort of talked about at a high level, if the commissioning is not completed at the time of a house requiring code of compliance, the proposed approach that we've worked through is to, in simple terms, have sucker trucks that would empty out any effluent that would build up whilst that pump station is not fully operational. And depending on how many homes and where, if commissioning takes 2 weeks or a little bit longer, we've got two options around updating forecast targets, where we'd put a slightly more permanent solution in, because that will be the more cost-effective way of holding it versus a very short-term temporary solution, and if it's only for a week or two. At this point in time as well, though, there is a lot of tension working through with the contractor around how we can actually deliver on time. The risk in these things, though, is in the commissioning of all the SCADA and electronics as you find things. And so having a backup plan, which is this, in simple terms, pumping it away. And whilst 1 or 2 homes may not need a lot of pumping, you don't want it sitting because it goes septic. So we'll have a multiple times a date, or multiple times a week, sorry, to manage that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next section.
Sorry, no, I've got a question to the.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Damien.
And you can stay there, Mr. Thu. Thanks for the question, Wendy, because the next one was around when we've got short-term solutions. What's the additional cost related to those, or are they absorbed within what we already have budgeted?
Yeah, so at a fiscal level, I'll start. The thing that's at play here is obviously we had many, many years ago a structure and scheme plan for Howard Street. We've made a set of decisions in line with this council's intention to have more comprehensive development and intensive development. That gave rise to needing to build bigger infrastructure, bigger pump stations. This is all being done in a fiscally neutral way because the increased DCs offset the costs. It's just and it's been flagged previously to performance and monitoring. Building a bigger pump station, there is geotech and ground condition work that needs to be done. We have a contract in place. All of that solution is being built. We simply have to manage the risks of if it doesn't get delivered in time, given we know that we've got, the Peak House development being done by the Tumu 35 houses at the moment. So we're working in lockstep with developers. We're driving hard to get the end solution in place, but we do need to have contingency. So it's all being done within the fiscal envelope that we got. So we're operating within budget. We're just on a really tight, critical path, and we need to have contingency arrangements in place if for some reason we can't line it up exactly with the timeframes in which the developers will be looking for their co-compliance certificates. Correct.
Councillor Sholem.
One last question for this section, Chair. I'm just under sustainable as attainable, which is on page 17. I note that the report mentions that contract is ending. And I'm just keen to understand what are the plans for securing future funding and resources to continue advocating for sustainable initiatives in our food processing sector going forward.
Thank you, through you, Chair. The intention is to actually continue sustainable as attainable. We're doing it as a collaboration. We're working on a business case at the moment, which has to go to the appropriate group managers. So the collaboration will be between economic development, the waste team, as well as Food East. So we can actually bring the goals of sustainable as attainable, the objectives, we can keep those going because it's a really valuable program. But we're just doing the business case at the moment and working with sustainable as attainable as we do that.
Great, really keen to be kept up to date on that. It is a great initiative.
Great.
Councillor Harvey.
Thank you. And a subsequent question to that. You just mentioned economic development. Are you talking about our own economic development, or are you talking about regional economic development?
Our economic development.
So are we having conversations with the regional economic development in support of that program?
We have had conversations with Rita about that, but at this time it's us supporting it.
Mayor Hazelhurst.
Thank you. Just a follow-up question is, are our industry leaders working on sustainable as attainable? Are we working with the likes of Watties, etc., and our big users in this area?
So we contract Dr. Nikki Solomon, who you've all met, to actually deliver this program. My understanding is that Nikki is working with a lot of industry. I can't give you exactly who is involved, but I can definitely come back to you with more information on the businesses that are involved. Definitely she's got industry involved, big and little.
So a question for you, Mr. Thu, is, this is really important for us in our networks and our infrastructure. How connected are we up to looking at other solutions? There's one thing to do a business case, but how do we relay that into putting something into our infrastructure needs for the future, and how are we going to manage?
I might be slow today through you, Chair. So in terms of education, awareness and change management projects, that's the discussion Kim's been having with Angela and the Waste Minimisation team. And the Waste Levy Fund opportunity that we have with that grant process, there's a natural fit. In that, there would be additional KPI reporting and reporting back to the Joint Waste Futures Committee around how well is that achieving. And then inside of the new WMP waste minimisation management plan that the joint councils are doing, and the Waste Futures Committee had a visioning session just this week. One of the key topics is actually around the waste that our commercial and corporate and food management business, because all of you have seen landfill figures. Yes, household waste is a large part, but actually construction waste is significant, and we've got a program of that. And food waste is a large with the putrescibles. So it is a key topic of that wider joint initiative to lean into. Sustainable and attainable will be one part of what will need to be a bigger program for the region.
And through you, Chair, Mr. Thieb, I'll just comment, because I'm not sure where you were going in addition to this, Mayor Sandra, but obviously one of the big strategic issues for the council from an infrastructure point of view that we need to be working through, one of the big strategic issues is obviously one of our big comparative advantages is, our trade waste, capacity within our infrastructure, our Tomoana and Whakatū industrial areas, that is our wet industry, the things that support the biggest strategic plays around food. And I think the tension that we're going to have to manage really carefully across our industrial zones is we're seeing a lot of dry industry as the big strategic considerations about how do we maximise the comparative advantage we have in our infrastructure around wet industry, but also strategically how we're going to ensure that we've got sufficient, wet industry capacity and food. Those are the big strategic infrastructure issues that we're going to have to noodle our way through, as we really start to think about long-term growth and big infrastructure investments going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Solomon?
Are we moving to the green section, Chair? I just thought
You can be the first.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Just looking at the district plan section, I note that the report mentions that there's delays due to extended groundwater monitoring timeframes, and I'm just interested to understand how that slippage in the structure planning for Lyndhurst Extension and Kaipoi are being addressed, and what are the new timelines for completion? This is a question I actually forwarded in advance of the meeting because I didn't want to catch anyone out, and I note that Mr. Wallace has given me an answer, but I just thought it's something the council should probably hear.
Answer that.
Yep. John, do you want to lead with the answer?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I guess the slipping has been centred around our major chestnut with land development is making sure that stormwater modelling is a key component for advancing the structure plans. In some of our other areas, I don't believe we've done enough depth in the stormwater modelling, and then that's caused the shows in what land required for, our structure planning. So what we're doing now is we're making sure that we get that done well at the front end, and we'll know exactly what land we require for either attenuation or pipe work or anything like that for structure plans. You'll see in that note that Rowan's completed. We believe we still have the areas coming on stream that we'll need, but we'll have a lot more certainty exactly what we're going to apply for stormwater, because if we can't get the stormwater away, it really does make our work quite difficult. So you'll see here saying here that the structure plan's in the third quarter, and Lyndhurst extension timing is for delivery in 2008 with Kaipo 2023.
I'd be interested to stay, I guess, for council to be kept updated as this progresses. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any more questions on, excuse me, planning and regulatory services, the green headings? No. Community Wellbeing and Services, the dark blue. Questions on that, Councillor? Councillor Skipworth?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just in regards to the aquatics, Splash Planet was when I was campaigning to become councillor, that was a big topic about the overspend and then I'm seeing with the Flaxmere aquatics as well, there's some stagnation across the programs that they provide. Can we have the same? Can we have an intentional or a regular update on that? Because I'd hate for us to end up where we are with the Frimley pools. And I'm wondering if we've got current staff that are working there looking at the innovative drives or the campaigns, or do we have an intentional person that's working on those sort of components?
Through you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor. So are you asking what we currently have in place in terms of innovative programs and things like that? I'll hand over to Mr. Page.
Okay. Through you, Chair. So we're obviously running the kind of standard program in Learn to Swim. Flaxmere Pool is particularly high use from the local schools, which does impact availability during particular times that we might introduce new programming, such as aqua aerobics, some of the stuff that we're doing at Clive Pools, like Aquatots, which is something we've done to drive kind of new young families into the pool to try and rebuild the Learn to Swim, where we've lost some business to the new pool. So it's a bit of a challenge in capacity at Flaxmere Pool at the moment, but yeah, we are at the moment consulting with my team, and we are looking to structure for a specific kind of programming focus within that structure.
And then with the Splash Planet, just with the overspend, I think if we knew we were driving for attendance to increase, and then we had an overspend with having to man that attendance. So I just wonder if we can look at our budgets a lot better for the next term. And if I can, Mr. Chair, just go to the security part of it. I'm a regular attender of the peace rally for Palestinians, so just the language has got protest activity. It's peace rally, but also when there's bookings, I've noticed that whether it's Palestinian rally or whether it's the Israel protest, they're booked pretty much within the same time frame. So if we're wanting to eliminate any type of, conflict, then maybe we look at our booking calendar that we're not booking them so close.
Thank you. Mayor Hazelhurst.
Through you, Chair, just following up on Councillor Teo Skipworth question around Splash Planet. When will the Splash Planet 2024 budget be coming back to Council for approval?
Effectively, through you, Chair, that budget has been approved through the annual plan or the LTP process, so the budget that's in place. But what we can do is actually bring that back to you in more detail to give you a better understanding of what's actually in place for year one of the LTP.
I think that, there are a number of recommendations from last season that we have to have an oversight as governors on to make sure that we are going to be dealing with some of the challenges and issues that we saw through last year's Splash Planet season. And I think that perhaps we could have a workshop on that to identify how we're managing some of those challenges. And yes, we've had increasing numbers and we have to manage them, but we also have facilities that we need to have oversight on. So I'd like to make sure that everybody's across Splash Planet.
Take that as an action.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Councillor Sholem.
Thank you, Chair. And just building on what Mayor Sandra said, if as part of that workshop we could look at what changes have been implemented to control expenditure and improve financial reporting going forward, that would be really great if that could be factored in. Sticking with the aquatics theme, I've got a couple of questions around our aquatics. I was really interested to read around the sort of stagnation around the Learn to Swim program, and I'm just really interested to understand what specific strategies are being implemented to try and rebuild those enrolments.
Through you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Sholem. So obviously the big impact has been the opening of the Regional Aquatic Centre. We've lost roughly 300 to 400 enrolments, depending on, you know, kind of timing of the season, the year, sorry. Because of the way that the Learn to Swim program works, generally a child will enter at a young age and go through that program and leave at around kind of 10 to 12 years old. So we have done some capacity management. We've reduced capacity at the higher end and opened up at the lower end to try and encourage more parents to bring, you know, come in with their babies and so on. And then like the program that I was talking about earlier with the Aquatot, so we're trying to open up our facilities for that market and get them in using it, and hopefully they will transition across into the program. So they're the kind of two strategies that we're working on at the moment.
That's great. And a follow-up question as well, sort of around aquatics, which is, I was just interested to understand how the implementation of the ultraviolet filtration system at Flaxmere Pool's progressing, and what are the expected impacts on health and safety?
Through you, Chair. Thank you again for that question. So the works for the installation is due to start next week, so 29th. The health and safety impact is essentially we'll use less chlorine in the pool, and there's an unsafe byproduct of chlorine called trichloramines, which can get created when there's kind of heavy use of the pool. By reducing the amount of chlorine, because we're overlaying with an ultraviolet filtration, that will reduce the production of trichloramines, which will make the pool safer and a nicer experience for the users.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. I have more questions, but I see other councillors.
Councillor Corbyn?
Thank you, Chair. I may have missed it, but on Splash Planet, if we take out the repairs and maintenance, I couldn't work out what the actual operating loss was for the year. Do you have that figure?
What we've sort of, not intentionally done, but this report sort of, we wanted to highlight I guess the activity of Splash, how the season went, the challenges that were in place. I think what we've got coming as part of the full year-end financial update will be more information on that basis. So probably the answer to that is don't have it at hand, but we'll certainly be reporting that back with the rest of Council's finances.
Thank you. Councillor Harvey?
Thank you. Hawke's Bay Museum and Research Centre, Archive Centre. Just with the additional 1 million that's required, that's the contribution of the Museum Foundation. Does that have to be secured prior to opening, or is there a different lead time to that? Because there's 150,000 that's been secured, but it's still quite a significant shortfall between that and the 1 million.
Yeah, so my understanding, having talked with the team that's organising the fundraising on behalf of the Museum Trust, is that they're currently on target for around 650,000, probably closer to 700. They've got a few other ideas around targeting other charitable funds to help boost to that. So we're starting to get into a realm of that's doable, and we've also got, and it's a conversation I'm yet to have with our project manager, but we will need to start looking at the contingency that we currently have with the project. We're through probably a lot of the higher risk elements of the project, particularly the demolition and sort of the foundation works, the strengthening of the building. All of that work's done. So we're through a lot of that more risky phase. We can start to look at that contingency, and we will be looking at that contingency around pulling some of that to one side until such time as we have more security around the funding from the foundation. So I think at this point in time, it's manageable. The funding is coming through. They've got the 150,000 from Eastern and Central Community Trust. There's another bequest that's come in of quite some substance, and then they're selling the feathers as well. And they're probably
thank you. So is if they don't reach their target, what happens then? Does it default back to council having to make up a difference, or councils?
At this stage, we are working to reduce the contingency that's available to the project to the value that we think is the gap between the $600,000 or $700,000 that we think is is quite likely that the foundation will achieve. We'll reduce the contingency. That might create some pressures through the construction phase, but at the moment, that's the only levers that we've got. I do not want to come back to council and ask for more money. So we'll be looking at managing that budget as tightly as we possibly can. To the point, Mr. Wismeyer, who's our project manager, has already worked through and found some savings around, just aligning the ducting and all the other services that go through the building in a different way than it was originally programmed. That's created about $50,000 worth of savings, and we will continue to do that on the way through.
Okay, so can I, just on that, sorry, can I just be a little bit clear that it's a nice to have $1 million contribution from the foundation, but if we can save money in our own contingency aspects of it, that benefits that contribution?
No, excuse me, no, point of order, no, it's out of order. I think Mr. Allen has explained that they've got 700,000, they're working for a contingency, so I think he's got it in hand.
It's not our contingency of the build project. That's what I'm just trying to be clear on here.
Yeah, but
we're using some of that.
Yeah, Mr. Allen explained it.
So within the overall project scope, there was about just over $1 million worth of contingency that was allowed within that budget. We're through a large proportion of the riskier phase of the project, and there has been allocations against that contingency fund. I don't have the details on me as to how much, but there's certainly, I think, capacity to pull back some of that contingency budget that we currently have to align with the funding arrangements that we've got. That will create some risk as we work our way through it, and if there's some larger issues that we come across between now and project completion, then we'll have to work out how we deal with that. But we're still putting the pressure on the foundation. The foundation is still aiming to achieve that $1 million target.
Mr. Allen, can I have a go at just trying to summarise this, so we're all on the same page. So we have a budget for the build of the Regional Arts Storage and Archive Centre. That is a mix of the funding that the Hastings and Napier councils have put in alongside the predominant funding source, which was circa $14 million from lotteries and culture and heritage. The overall budget included $1 million that the Museums Trust committed to fundraising. So we have a total budget to deliver the Regional Arts Storage facility that's due to be complete next year. At the moment, we're trucking well through this project. We're a long way through. We're saying that the trust does. We've got some confidence they'll get to around 700,000 within the overall budget envelope we've got, which included the $1 million fundraising effort from the museum. We are confident through the tight management of the scope of the project and the contingency that we have that we will be able to deliver the Regional Arts Storage within the budget that we've got, but it's going to require some really tight management of the remaining building period and the contingency that we have.
So perhaps give Councillor Harvey some assurance at this point there's no panic button in terms of coming to the council wanting more money. It's in hand.
There is no panic button, but the next point, we will be needing to really tightly manage that because the fundraising target that was set for the foundation was required, but we will be managing it really tightly on the way through in case they don't reach all of that.
Sorry, it's just one of these things. It's like some other projects. We just need to be keeping a closer watch on as they progress, and I'm just not sure whether also with this one. Is the performance and monitoring report now the best way to do that each time, or is there another way that we can just make sure that there is a good handle on this? A bit like I think possibly what we did with Toi Toi and how we kept a really tight watch on that.
So through you, Chair, and one of the things that we've been discussing with the Chair is bringing to this committee an additional report to what you get on a quarterly basis, but something that picks out the more strategically important, the higher risk projects, and provides a more detailed commentary of those around the finances, the risk, and how we're travelling towards completion. So that's something that will be coming to the next committee meeting in September as well as a start. And so this project will be one of those.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Councillor Jessup?
Yay, I'm here. I'd just like to bring your attention to the senior housing, especially in Kimberley. And being a first-time councillor receiving a petition myself and Anna, I know there's a lot of information there in that risks and opportunities, but I'm not sure what does the petition process mean going forward, because being a first-time councillor is quite daunting. And I just wanted to understand what that procedure is. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I can explain the petition process if you wish. Is that your question, councillor? Just the general process around petitions? Yeah. So in your council standing orders, people can petition council on any matter. They have what's called a prayer in the petition. The prayer explains the substance of the matter that people wish to petition council on. There's some procedural requirements. Petitions got to be courteous in the nature of its, I guess, request for attention on the matter at hand. There's got to be 20 petitioners or more signing it. And then a council or a council committee generally receives the petition as acknowledgement of people wanting to table the matter at hand, and then we'll determine what, if any, follow-up on the matter is appropriate, and then report back to the committee or the council that received the petition, so you know what the outcome of the matter is.
Okay. We're actually going to have a break now, so we'll just hold those questions, break for morning tea. It's just past 10:30, so those that are live streaming, we will return probably about 10 minutes or so. Thank you. Probably make a start in about 2 or 3 minutes. Thanks. Right, okay. Right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to those who are watching on live stream. And she's going to hate me for this, but happy birthday, Christine, today. Start the second half on a cheery note. So we were going through community wellbeing and services, and I think there were a couple of questions from Councillor Dixon and Councillor Sholem. So Councillor Sholem, you're on the ready. Yep.
Thank you, Chair. Again, carrying on the senior housing theme, I'm just interested to understand what the status of the review on the applicant wait list is and around our senior housing, and how will that process align with what Napier City Council's doing?
Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Chair. So the team have developed a really comprehensive process for reviewing the wait list. So that consists of contacting every single person on that wait list, which, as you know, is well over 200. So that's begun, and people are quite difficult to get hold of. So the process is about 3 phone calls at different times of the day to try and account for that. If we're still not able to make contact with the person, a letter will then be sent out to them. And so there's sort of four attempts at communicating with these people. Then once we've got the list of people that are still still applicable to be on the wait list and still need a place, then they'll be assessed based on their need. And then when a position, a free space comes up, they're prioritised according to their need and then fit in that particular village where the vacancy is. So that's all currently underway at the moment. The Tai Whenua are working through the lists. We hope that'll be done by the end of this week. And then what we've got is 2 weekly meetings set up so that any new applicants on top of those that we already know about are assessed using the same criteria. In regards to the second part of your question with Napier, Ms Thompson, who is here, actually can answer any more detailed questions, is working very closely with Napier, but it does seem that they're going to a different system, actually, a software system, so a new piece of software which manages it all electronically rather than the manual process which we've got. So we are in constant contact with them, and we'll keep working with them to try and align, but it might not be possible.
Thank you.
Councillor Apatu.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to query whether all our senior housing units meet our healthy home standards currently.
I might ask Craig for you to help us out there, although I understand that they all... Yes, Ms Thompson, would you like to come up then? Thank you.
Through you, Chair. Councillor Apatu, all of the homes have been assessed, fully assessed, and the last pieces of works are around the draft stopping that the asset team are just completing at the moment, and then we will be fully compliant.
Thank you. Mayor Hazelhurst.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions and comments. One is on community development. Yesterday, I attended with Councillor Fowler the Havelock North Function Centre. It was their 20th anniversary last year. And they are in the process of standing up as a community emergency hub, and they are applying to the lottery money to seek some equipment. I just wonder, they don't seem to be here when we talk about Havelock North. It says Havelock North Streams, but it doesn't actually say the community and people. Are they part of our resilience planning?
Through you, Chair. Yes, absolutely, they're part of that. These key dates here are meetings that the team, the Community Connect team, have been involved in or been part of. So it
Yes.
may be that we've missed that particular meeting off the list, but we have allocated funding to the Havelock North Community Centre, and they have been provided with other resources that we've provided to all the emergency hubs as well. So we're
Awesome.
certainly very much in the loop.
Great, thank you. And the other one is on neighbourhood support. The Kainga Ora homes that are planned for Gordon Road, I hadn't seen that we were having this new development until I saw that there was a meeting held in June for new homes. Could someone just expand on how many new Kainga Ora homes in Gordon Road? You had a meeting there with the residents.
I have to come back to you, Richard.
Okay.
Off the top of my head about the numbers.
Right, thank you.
Asset management. Any questions on councillor Sholem?
I'm sorry, I had another one on the blue section.
Yep, sure.
If that's all right.
Yep.
Just going, actually two. Just going back to the neighbourhoods support section. I noted that it looks like there's been quite rapid growth, and I'm just interested to understand what measures are being taken to support that rapid expansion of the neighbourhood support groups, and how we're ensuring those groups remain effective and engaged.
Through you, Chair. Councillor Sholem, there is rapid growth, as you all see, but it's predominantly in the urban area at present. And that has been because of JR, our Neighbourhood Support Coordinator, working quite closely with new community constables that are very active and keen in the Heretaunga district to work in that space. So that's kind of where the increase has happened, and in conjunction with the New Zealand Police, of the community constables here. JR has just come off secondment in the Po Ahurea team for recovery, and is back in the community development team full time, so I'm very excited. He's very excited, so there will be more resource and focus absolutely in that neighbourhood support space. But we've also talked within our team if, because our expectation is the rural communities will start to become more engaged as a part of the work that we're doing too. So there is capacity within the existing community connected team to support JR as that grows as well.
Fabulous. Can't endorse this work enough, given resilience is the key theme for our district. If I may ask another question, Chair. Just looking at the libraries now, I just want to take a minute to acknowledge the huge amount of work that the libraries team did, particularly around our Pride events. However, I also want to recognise that as part of that came more threats, more abuse, more negative interactions with a small but vocal group in the community. And I'm just really interested to understand how that's impacted the library teams, how that was managed, and recognising as well that libraries are often real coal-face, front-facing parts of all parts of our community, which sometimes can be contentious, and what we're doing to take learnings away to make sure that our libraries team is safe and our community can be recognised in all its wonderful facets.
Thank you, Councillor. Through you, the Chair. So with the Pride events, yes, there has been an increase in a lot of hate speech online, and a little bit more in person as well. The health and safety team has wrapped around the libraries team quite significantly. They've been involved in all the planning, and part of business as usual is doing health and safety plans, so all of that has been considered. The health and safety team have also, encouraged the team to access resources such as the INSTEP program. So there is all of that, and it's just building it into business as usual now, and making sure that we've got processes and support for our teams.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Barrow?
It's on the next section.
Oh, asset management?
Yes.
Yep, no, we're up to that now, we're fine. Yep. Go for it.
On
Elwyn, sorry, Elwyn, did Councillor Corbyn?
Are we on assets now?
No, yes.
Starting with me, we are.
Starting with, yeah. Well said, Deputy.
This is around the drinking water, and I just have a couple of questions on that. The first one is, I see for the performance measure 2 on percentage of real water loss, we didn't have the ability to measure that appropriate previously. Will we have that ability in this current annual reporting time?
We have obviously put in the smart meters and we're getting all that additional data off an extra 2,000 metres. The discussion we're having with the auditors is given that level of data and confidence level, which we think is a higher confidence level than many others reporting with less meters, that we should be able to put that in. My commentary to the team is we should just put in into these measures our numbers anyway, even if DIA doesn't think the confidence interval is high enough, because it still gives a clear indication from that sample, from 2,200 metres to 200 mechanical, 2,000 smart meters, just what the spread of use is, because what we're getting out of that now is information around some really low use households and some very excessive use households. And we can talk to a couple of areas where we've been able to work with landowners once we knew they had significant water use. So I think the CARES is getting a measure in, and rather than just linking it directly through to what our auditors and meeting that DIA requirement is.
Thanks. And I note on the next performance measure 3, there's significant improvement both over the 2022-23 baseline in comparison to targets, like, you know, coming down from 57 minutes to 32 or from 18 down to 4. I was wondering what the reason behind that was.
There's been quite a lot of focus in this maintenance contract in there, and a lot of tension, and Mr. Cave can add if I miss some key points. Additional resources were also brought in by our maintenance contractor to catch up on a degree of that. It is also fair, though, I need to comment around some of the elements around the management savings and approaches. Some of the discussions that we're working through for Council's later discussion is how responsive we are drives how much cost we have, and so there are discussions around responsiveness and efficiencies and frequency of preventative measures, but there's a range of things that affect through the maintenance contract on different elements which need a deeper and different discussion.
Councillor Corbyn.
Thank you, Chair. The Clive Camping Ground ablution blocks, significant investment there. How's progress going with a new lease arrangement?
That's something that I'll have to follow up on. Mr. Hosford, following his retirement and reintegration into the organisation, it's one of the things that he's got on his list to do, and we will work together on ensuring that we bring that back to council. I probably can't give you a timeline at this point in time, but we're very conscious that we need to put that in place.
Councillor Skipworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, it's never the behaviour of a woman to digress, but given the wellbeing community officers have gone, I was just wondering if it's okay to have an offline conversation with them in regards to planning for future rainbow events and how we might do that differently to ensure that they're able to stand up and that the staff are safe.
Yep, certainly take that an action. Take that as an action, yes, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Just to follow up from Councillor Corbyn on the Clive Camping Ground building renewal, brand new build, Blusham block. In terms of the overspend because of unexpected building issues and adequate water supply, how would we approach a project like this differently in the future and learn from making sure we don't exceed budget?
I just need to check. I think this budget, the project's actually come back on schedule inside of the contingency amount. So there was a fair earlier on of an overspend, but you would have seen in the current quarter, no more variation, and expenditure is still within budget, is the commentary. There was a forecast in the previous quarter, there was a forecast.
Councillor Apatu?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Apologies, I'm going back to drinking water. I'm just curious to understand, have we ever done a cost-benefit analysis or a review of having water meters installed across our networks with regard to water loss, etc.? Just trying to understand what our future direction is.
Through you, Chair. This was discussed by the eco districts and then the rebranding on a number of sessions. There is a workshop which we haven't managed to find a gap in your calendar around a range of drinking water elements because we're about to lodge a drinking water take consent, a change to that consent to group up all of our water use. And as I previously highlighted to those at a meeting after getting back from the tank negotiations, water meters are in our future as an absolute. As part of the LTP process, the LTP working group, there was more budget into your LTP to start that install in a staged way. That's been moved out of the program, out of the first few years, given the fiscal situation the council was working through. We're working also through with a number of technology providers, and that may provide a different commercial model around, so not our balance sheet in terms of someone else's. So we're exploring a number of options in delivery and technologies, but ultimately it has to come back to a strategy and recovery committee discussion and wider council around when do we do it, how do we do it. But the reality of water usage and our population growth, if we can't drive efficiencies at a household level and at our own level, we will limit growth because we won't have enough water to allocate to households and to businesses. So water meters exist somewhere in our future. The key piece of work is coming back to you around timing exactly when that date is.
Councillor Nixon?
Yeah, thanks. Unfortunately, I've been working off my iPad for this whole meeting, including the preparation, so I've got a bit out of sequence. I want to come back to Three Waters if I can, but just for the moment, there's an item in there on the replacement of the boiler at Toi Toi. Is this part of the original upgrade that we did for Toi Toi, or has this emerged since?
Through you, Chair, it was a renewal that we knew was coming up when we were doing the Toi Toi work, but there was life left in the boiler, and you see how much you can get out of an asset. And in the really early stages of working on the theatre, they were still working through what was the municipal building going to be, what would be its needs, and it made no sense to replace something until we were absolutely certain what the use of the function was. So it was a renewal function separate to the other works.
I thought it might be that, I just wasn't sure enough and I couldn't find it in there. The other question I had was going back to Heather's questions on Three Waters. With the thinking that we've got on Three Waters, will, as councillors, we lose the right to, or the ability to monitor what is going on in Three Waters should there be a new organisation?
I think, is that, you happy to answer that, or is that a question beyond the scope of this?
I wasn't sure.
This
no.
group. I think it's probably a question beyond the scope of this. Yeah, so I think we can
When
just
would
park
be the
that.
right time to bring that up?
Through you, Chair, and the Chief Executive can chip in if he feels the need. As obviously, as councillors are aware, the region's doing work on service delivery plans, which we have to do as a council as part of the Water Services Act. And as part of doing that work collectively, so everyone will have an individual plan, we're looking at what a joined up plan might look like and what's the pros and cons. And for the council to choose to move forward on that path, there will be a formal paper to full council to work through the pros and cons. And different models have different abilities of influencing reporting. So I think when that work's further developed, that all of those elements.
Could you just remind me, when roughly would this be coming back to council? Because we've had lots of conversations about it. I've just lost track of when the timing happens.
So there's significant work underway which we need to brief the council about, but the intention is to, before the end of the calendar year, be in position for councils to make informed choices on the options going forward around local waters done well.
That's great, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Councillor Corbyn?
Thank you, Chair. Drinking water and the paragraph on risks and opportunities that starts off Hamawana and Tiawanga High Demand Investigations Update. Does that whole paragraph relate to Hamawana and Tiawanga, particularly around during the month of June, the annual volume has exceeded the consented allocation? Second part of that is June 6 months of the year, or is it a year ending June?
Through you, Chair, June is the 12th month of the year, and that paragraph is solely around the water supply of Hamawana and Tiawanga. And back to the earlier question around water meters, if we had water meters on every property in Hamawana and Tiawanga, it would help us find those leaks, because we'd be able to eliminate private side leaks or fully understand. The team have yet to find the cause of such high use in Hamawana. We have worked through a similar program in the Omahu water supply and found a couple of houses that had significant leaks underneath them, and so it's been good to resolve. But Omahu also, we're working through challenges, particularly with the additional housing going in, is we will breach our water consent usage in Omahu, and we're just getting some planning advice, because with that many houses in Omahu, we'll use more than our annual allocation. Our proposed consent wants to group all of our allocations up so we can run unders and overs between, because we're all pulling from the same aquifer. But that paragraph is about Hamawana Tiawanga.
Thank you. Corporate services, next section. Any questions on corporate services? Councillor Sholem?
Thank you, Chair. And before I ask my question, can I just take a minute to acknowledge our IT team and the CrowdStrike issue that happened across the world, and it was really great to hear how quick the team got onto it and got us back up and running. So a moment of acknowledgement there. A note under cybersecurity, which I expect is very purposely kept very high level because we have to be careful. So I expect any answers you give me, Mr. Allen, to be also high level. I was just wondering if you could provide a little bit of detail around the recent investments that have been made into cybersecurity. What were the measures and what's the impact been to our overall security posture, I guess?
Through the Chair, and yeah, certainly, so at a high level, and we do provide more sort of, I guess, detailed reporting through the risk and assurance on a regular basis, but there has been quite a significant investment made by the IMBT team around improving council's cybersecurity posture. Part of that's around establishing some key relationships with external providers that provide that 24/7, 365 days a year analysis of our network. So those organisations are constantly monitoring what's going on and feeding back information to the team to be able to respond to. One of the other things we do and have done over a period of time now is benchmark ourselves, and so there's an organisation called SAM for Compliance. Most of local government in New Zealand, plus a wider sector, use them to benchmark ourselves against what is good practice for organisations of our size and scale and risk profile. And within that, I think twice now in the last period, through 3 years, Hastings District Council has been recognised for the improvements that it's made to its cybersecurity posture and the work that we've done around that. So I think at a high level, I think that provides us with assurances that we are putting the necessary investments in. We talk about budgets and cost pressures. This is one area where we are constantly having to invest more to keep the organisation well protected. And I think the other thing, just within that, when we first started down this program of investment. A few years ago, we set ourselves some targets within those benchmarks. The team have exceeded those targets, and now we're reassessing where we need to be. And it's all about setting the level right. Like you can aim for the stars and have 100%, but that's probably not necessarily appropriate for an organisation of our size and scale and risk profile. So it is around getting that investment appropriate to the risks that we face. But the risks, the numbers on here are scary when you look at the level of event detection that goes on, for example.
Thank you. That gives me peace of mind. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, thank you. I heard on the radio this morning that CrowdStrike are offering $10 food vouchers via Uber, and be interesting to see who we will be giving that $10 voucher to within our own staff. But just on the cybersecurity, I wouldn't mind some commentary or some explanations around what each of the items are that we are measuring, because for us as lay people, we don't necessarily have much of an idea at all, yet it is an ever-evolving and increasing aspect of risk for our organisation. And, I don't know what's an asset, what is that actually the number of devices and stuff we have across our entire network, cases investigated, and I don't know whether they're on the rise, so, over the previous year and that sort of stuff. So just some additional commentary around that. And I don't know also if something's a high, medium or low, what does that actually mean? What's the points of those? So just some bit more commentary would, I think, be helpful.
I think through you, Chair, I think what we'll organise to do, because we're very conscious of the information that we put forward into a public environment, but certainly if council is of the desire, we can provide an update from the team to you all in a closed session to provide that assurance.
Yeah, I just think it's important when we see, I think it was last year or the year prior to health boards being in the gun for cybersecurity attacks, falls back on governance and what governance had in place and what oversight they had. So I think it is quite important.
Yep, good suggestion. Would you like that as an action, Councillor Harvey? Yep, take that as an action, please. Thank you. Councillor Corbyn.
Thank you, Chair. The Strategic Risk Register, item 26, failure of climate adaptation, inherent extreme and residual high. We have a climate officer. Can you just remind me how he reports to us and how regularly?
So to your strategy and recovery meeting next week is the introduction of the climate officer and the program of work, setting it all up, and then post that meeting, the program of work will be reported on to this committee going forward. Yeah. Yes. So your strategy and recovery meeting will be just looking at the strategic direction of the program and the key components, and then we'll have a reporting framework in place for this committee going forward.
Thank you. Councillor Nixon.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. We all saw the disruption last week from the IT upgrade, and it sort of highlighted to my mind cloud storage. Do we know where our data, like which country, which facility, where our data is being stored when it's on the cloud, and how sure are we that it is secure?
I think we know precisely where our data is stored.
You do know?
And I don't personally, but the team do. And I think part of Councillor Harvey's request for more information and assurances, I think this is something that we can build into that as well.
It's reassuring.
Yep. Thank you. Marketing and communications. Questions on marketing and communications. Next section.
Through
Yes,
you,
Sandra?
Chair, just to want to acknowledge the team through the Homewana floods and the very, very good communications. Our community were very, very happy with how they got the messaging through. So just want to acknowledge the team. Thank you.
Thank you. No other questions? We go straight to recovery. Next section.
So just noting, Chair, that there is a very comprehensive report coming to strategy and recovery that next week. But Mr. Charter is just here if there's any questions about what's been presented in front of you.
No questions? Right, I think that comes to the end of our performance and monitoring report, and I'd just like to thank Councillor Barrow for his assistance during the process as well. So could I please have a mover to accept the report, Councillor Sholem, and a seconder, Councillor Nixon. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. There are no minor items or urgent items, so I'll just get Mr. Allen to explain why we need to go into PX, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The reason for requesting that this item be heard in PX is that we're in negotiations with the contractor involved, and to protect those negotiations, this conversation is certainly beneficial to be heard behind closed doors.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Allen. And just before we close off, Councillor Heke has just put in a late apology, if that could be recorded as well. Thank you for those of the public who have joined us today, and good day. And we'll move into PX now. Oh, sorry. Oh, movement. Of course we do. Sorry. Sorry. Right. Could we have a mover, Councillor Sholem and Councillor Jessup, and all those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Thank you. Now I can say goodbye to members of the public. Thank you.